So happy. Welcome, everyone. We are so happy to have Jennifer Schwester.
Perfect.
And the session is called Social Emotional Learning Hybrid Virtual Language Classroom at our PSMLA's first ever virtual conference. My name is John Grande, and I will be hosting today along with Edith Gay. The session is being recorded. If you're tweeting or posting on social media, we welcome you to include @PSMLA1 or hashtag PSMLA21 so that we can see and share all of your thoughts. Our presenters' Twitter handles are, Jennifer? If you would like to tag them as well. For attendance purposes, please be sure that your displayed name matches the name used to register for the conference. If you're unsure how to do so, you can send me a message in the chat and I will be happy to provide you with instructions. Please join me in welcoming Jennifer to PSMLA. Go ahead, Jennifer, you're on.
I'm on. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody, and good morning. My name is Jennifer Schwester. I am your neighbor. I'm in New Jersey, but so thrilled that I am able to be here and share with you this morning. So as it was mentioned, I am going to be speaking about social emotional learning in the hybrid virtual world language classroom, because when I submitted my proposal, we were still hybrid and virtual. I know many schools, especially in Philadelphia, were fully virtual. I hope that situation has resolved itself for many school districts and that you are able to be in person with your students, and hopefully everyone's staying safe and wearing their masks. I'm thrilled that I am finally back in the classroom with our students. But it is, challenging, and some of that will come up. And that is one of the reasons why I still believe this workshop is so essential. Even if we are not fully online, that is where our students' brains are right now. Currently, it's my 23rd year teaching French. I've been back at the high school level for 9 years. And about 7 years ago, I really needed to do something for me. And somebody had suggested that I try yoga. And because I'm that type of, I have to always be doing something, my brain likes to work. And I came to really enjoy that time where I was able to let my brain settle down and block any, those to-do lists and those crazy thoughts that come up in our daily lives, because our brains like to be active. So of course, I have to learn more. So why not, instead of getting a master's, I'll get my yoga certification, which was, I really thought I was getting a master's for what was going on. And again, just like our languages, just like being teachers, it is a lifelong education. There is always room for growth and change. So I'm still continuing my studies, even though I have been practicing and teaching for 3 years. What I've learned over this time is that it is the mindfulness, meditation, yoga, these are all essential skills that I believe we all need as human beings. It will help us get through anything that's going in our lives. It doesn't solve anything. It is just a healthy way to deal with life. And we have had so much going on in our lives in the past 2 years. And so when I speak about the past 2 years, because we're coming up in March, it will be 2 years. We're almost there. And it's been crazy and weird and a learning experience and trying on all of us. We're still learning tech. Tech changes. Does our tech work all the time? And that just adds to daily stress, stuff that we never had to worry about before. So in addition to all of that, but again, and thank you for having me here, we'll discuss why SEL is important, why we need to continue to work on identifying our own emotions, how to share them effectively, how to help our students learn how to correctly identify their emotions. And now hopefully being face to face, we are, really, we're playing catch up with some of our students. And so how can we use some of these strategies in our classrooms, in our target languages, and be taking care of ourselves and our students? So please do not panic. I will provide a link at the end of the workshop. You'll have access to the slides, so you're not recreating everything. I'm happy to share. I'll also have all of my contacts up at the end. Feel free to reach out to me if you cannot find something, you have questions. Feel free to put questions in the chat at any time. I'm happy to stop and address it. I like to talk about it right as it happens, and we will take it from there. So thank you again for being here. So 2018, summer of 2018, everything was normal, life was normal. And it was the end, we just ended the school year, our last normal school year, okay, where things were not crazy. So my school district had decided that it was going to, start to suggest that we implement more SEL activities into our classrooms. How do we connect with our students? And so I signed up for the training right away. I said, yes, I'd love to be there. And this poem really spoke to me. You can read it for yourself, but what it said to me at that time, and I'm going back to summer of 2018, I was able to identify 4 of my students. So I'm the French teacher. My classes are not super huge. I have good numbers. I'm happy about that. We're on block scheduling, so I only have 3 classes each semester. But out of maybe my 60-ish students, I can name 4. That's a high percentage. The district where I teach in, the district is about between 10-15 minutes from the beach. We have, I would say, every economic level of student in our school, from very rich people who have beautiful beach houses to people who do not have their own house, and students who were displaced at the time, and everything in between. Our district has been changing a lot over the years, which is, I personally believe, is a good thing. I love seeing more diversity in our school, but what got me is that I can name students that this spoke about. And it really got me thinking, I'm almost 50 years old. I've been doing this for a while. And when I'm stressed, and when we're all stressed, we revert to old patterns and behaviors. So as teachers, when we're stressed, we tend to revert back to the ways we were taught. And I grew up in the time, you don't have your own school supplies, you don't have this. Well, why are you not prepared? And without even thinking about, why a student might not be prepared. Perhaps it's a monetary thing. Perhaps the parents are not at home at night. I had a parent who worked overnights because she was a nurse. So, things were a little bit different, and because it was in the 80s, the hat was very different at that time. But now that we're back, to school, I can now name 8 to 9 of my 60 students that involves. And, what is my purpose as a teacher? Is it my purpose? It's not my purpose to make them struggle. It's not my purpose to hold their hand and guide them through it. It's my purpose to be there and create a learning environment where they can learn it. That's my purpose. So again, during that training, we talked about the ACEs, the adverse childhood experiences. You might identify with some of these. And so these are potentially traumatic events that occurred in childhood from 0 to 17 years old. And so when aspects of a child's environment are disrupted, it undermines their sense of safety, stability, and bonding, okay? Especially if they're in households where these are happening. So what the study showed in 2012, and then, coming into 2021, we also need to add racism, bullying, especially school bullying, bullying by teachers and coaches, pandemics, and community violence. Our students deal with more than we have ever had to deal with. We did not have to always deal with some of these, or we did, but it was not brought to the level of attention that it is today. So I'm glad that it is out there. But what they're finding is that students who identify with these ACEs, They can be linked to chronic health problems, mental illness, substance abuse as children, teenagers, and adults, and negatively impact their education and job opportunities. If you don't feel safe at school, why would you want to go to school? And then adults that they have found scoring four or more of these are at a greater risk for behavioral, physical, mental health issues later in life. And that does not mean that, well, if you had 8, it's just not worth it. Or if you only have 1, that your one adverse childhood experience is not worthy of affecting your life. Everyone is different, everyone is a human being. And so we do have to be mindful of that. We never know honestly, where all of our students are coming from. We don't know our colleagues' home situations sometimes. So, it's also about bringing that kindness and compassion into our daily dealings, and I'm not a counselor. So please, I am sharing what I've learned in my studies and research. I am sharing what has worked in my classroom, what I feel comfortable using. Please feel free to take it, tweak it, make it your own, and use it. That's what we do with everything else in our classroom. So, make it your own. You might like part of one of my ideas, make it personal to you, make it work for you. I am not the expert up here. I just love sharing what I know and what has worked for me. And I hope that inspires you. But I truly also believe that our teachers, as a teacher, our responsibility is to create a safe environment, create a sense of community, and to listen with kindness. And there are times at school that you might be that person that student connects with, and they may want to share things that are happening to them, perhaps in other classrooms, perhaps at home, perhaps with other students, at jobs. And that's an honor. But when students do feel that comfort with you, they feel that they are in a safe space, it is also our duty to remind them that, there are times that I may have to share what you say to me with other adults in order to get you the help and put you in the safe situation that you need. So I clearly tell my students, you're welcome to speak with me, but if you are discussing harming yourself, or that you want to harm others, or that you are being harmed by someone, I will have to reach out to other adults. And they need that person to support them. I'm not judging. The other adults are not judging. We are here to help them. And so knowing that there is somebody on their side who will be there and be that voice and that advocate for them is sometimes what students need. So that all being said, that's a lot. I do realize I ran through it very quickly. Here are the main points of why we do this, but how do we start connecting? How do we reach these students? So sometimes, we need to do a quick check-in. So if you're in by the chat, maybe you're feeling one of these emotions. Just put your number in the chat real quick if you can. Are you feeling 1, feeling a 2, feeling 3, feeling a 4? You can do this with any level because they know the basic un, de, trois, quatre. I love the 4s. It's a happy Saturday. That's great. I'm sorry to our friend who's feeling 3. I hope it's not caused by me. But, there's a lot on our list today, and I totally get it. And thank you for being so honest. I want to say during the week, I was a 2. I'm hedging closer, to that 3 and 4. After this afternoon, I might clearly be at that 4. But we have a lot on our plates. We're frustrated. Maybe your tech is acting up. So thank you everybody for sharing. Really great way. Just a quick check-in. I overheard one of my students in another classroom because I walk the hallways, doors are open. Nobody's shutting their doors because we need some fresh air. Not all of our rooms, including mine, have windows. Yay, I have an inside room. So, I overheard another student saying, I think it's great when teachers ask us how we are. They might give you the same answers. I'm tired. It's not good. It's okay. It's super. They might not share with you why. That's okay. They do like being asked, even though they're teenagers and we think teenagers don't want to share anything. They do like it. So once you're past that number stage, can we start addressing, vocabulary in our target languages that we can use with it? And giving our students those words, they love emojis. It makes communication easier between them. But, sometimes for us, what we consider an emoji to represent might not be what students consider. I do check with my adult children. I do ask trusted students if I want to introduce new emojis into my slides. I do check with them to see what they believe it means. Be careful with fruits and vegetables, but they have their own language as teenagers. So find a teenager that you trust and get their feedback, or Google it, what does this emoji mean? Because you do not want to be that person putting certain ones up. Your older students might just enjoy it. It might be funny. You're like, hey, I know how to use these, but especially younger students and middle school, 9th grade, no. But giving them those appropriate emotions, nervous, anxious, sad, furious. They might say stressed, or happy, giving specific concrete language, because when they text, when they're on social media, they're more visual than, their they use the visual to express their emotions, not that actual vocabulary. So we want to help their vocabulary grow. One of my little projects for this year, and I will be hopefully sharing it next year. Oh, thank you, Jen, for putting that in. You were not furious. Okay. And see, there we go with this discussion. How do you interpret it? Maybe 3 was more of a stressed, or, so thank you so much for putting that in. Yeah. And that goes in with what I say, how do we see these?
Yeah, that's actually why I put it in there, because I'm certainly not furious. Yeah, it was more like stressed, anyway, not exactly anxious, not exactly sad, but the just, I don't know. So
that's good. But you identified it, and thank you. That was the perfect example. I could not have planned that better myself. So thank you for that. Sure. I'm working on non-gender specific adjectives. I have many students. I do a survey, I have them fill out a private, form at the beginning of the semester. What are your pronouns? What name would you like me to use during class? When I call home, what name would you like me to use with your grown-ups? Because for some of my students, their school name and their home name are 2 different things. And I don't ever want to put them in that uncomfortable situation. So I've been trying to find more those gender neutral adjectives. And also, I tell students, then if there isn't one that you want that can just be for everybody, I want more inclusive words, just make it negative. Well, I'm not sad. Well, or I'm not nervous. Okay, that's very clear also. Let them use the negative. There it is in Spanish. And then with our upper level students, with our lowers, but, expanding that language, because we started at that very novice level, basic numbers, some vocabulary words, coming into, novice, high, intermediate, working on that expansion, more scenarios. How do you feel? This could be in a Jamboard. They can manipulate it, whatever platforms you're using. My school district uses Google. Put in your face, how are you feeling? How do you feel when you get a present? Many people will put in the smiley face. I'm the type of person, depending on who the gift is from, I'm putting in the anxious. I have family members that I believe, and this is my own, my own ace, I've never felt, do you understand? Do you get who I am as a person? And so I get nervous because I have some colors I do not prefer to wear. They don't look good on me. Guess what that shirt is that you got me? Awesome. Thank you so much. Very kind of you to think of me. How do we practice good manners? Thank goodness. But, it's frustrating. So I get anxious and I play in my head, what will I say? I try to put that expression on my face because, people want to share and give gifts, but, it's very challenging. Also, I am an early January baby. So when you have Christmas, Hanukkah, and my birthday all together, combined gifts stink. There you go. My husband's an August baby. He's never had that issue. We had to discuss, what does this mean? But yeah, these are our little things that we should share. So going into with our, with our students, again, there's so many emojis. The emojis can represent emotions. They can represent actions, places, items. And so I came across this board with many different emojis, and I was like, hey, this could be really interesting as a guided speaking activity that they could do in groups of 2. When we're virtual and hybrid, but we could put it in a Jamboard slide and they could cross off words as they use them. They can brainstorm a list of vocabulary based on these pictures first, and we want our students to interact. We want those interpersonal speaking skills. But, when or even presentational, but when we say to our students, oh, well, sit down and talk to your partner, where are we starting? Have some pictures, give some guidance. For many of them, they have not been social and interpersonal for almost 2 years. Remember that. How do we speak appropriately to someone? We had to go over, look at your partner, say hello. Make sure you know their name, like those basic things that we have always taken for granted, we are reteaching. And also, on another side, when I think of my current 9th graders, their last year of a normal school year with school structure was 6th grade. My sophomores was 7th grade. And so their freshman year, their 9th grade year, very crazy. And it is very obvious in our classroom routines. I have to be on them a lot more. They think that they can sit and text the whole time. It's had to really develop. Even my seniors, their last normal year was 9th grade. So when you see some behaviors, you have to remember, where was it stunted? Even my 17 and 18-year-olds, I do have to remind them certain things. My 9th graders are acting like 6th graders. We have to wrap our mind around that and think about that with the students. I've also been using these emojis to work on writing skills. They can write messages back to each other, whatever platform you're on. So it gives them that guide, write about what you did yesterday, or, I went to the beach because it was sunny out. I drove my car and I hope to swim when I get there. I realize I'm going back and forth, but it was our quick example. And circle the emojis that you used so I can get that idea. And then throw in that twist, nay, but. Okay, but I was angry because it was raining and I couldn't swim when I got there, especially the end of August, beginning of September. That happens at the beach. A lot of tropical storms make the conditions at my part of the Jersey Shore, not able to be used. You cannot go in the ocean, definitely not safe. So how do we expand? How do we have a guide? And that is, again, we're moving, that novice level, that listing, that brainstorming aspect. And how are we going into simple and expanded and connected sentences? So using those charts to help guide that. Going back to quick check-ins with our students, again, I would use the Google Jamboard, emotion charts. So again, we have emojis that we can put adjectives to. We have colors, we have numbers, great way to review, to modify it for your level. And then what I would do with my students is we would have a check-in board. So in the Google Jamboard, when you click that first one, you get a sticky note, put your name on it. Where are you feeling today? I did a check-in for my family just to model it. So, how are you feeling right now? My check-in represents, how do we feel when we get home from school and jobs? Okay. This is usually my 18-year-old. Life is good. He's living his best life right now. He gets to go to Philly and New York a lot. He plays in a lot of DIY bands. So anyway, he's living his best life. It's his first year of college. So life is good. So that's usually him. Caroline walks in, she's like, she's 21. She's seen it all. She's at that, they're at two opposite ends of college right now. I'm usually about a 3. I'll sit in my car and breathe. Sometimes I'm a 4, but I try to sit in my car and breathe a little bit before I enter the house, because it's not fair to the people at the house how I enter, that I'm bringing school crap home. And poor Mr. Schwester, he works for a hospital. So his past 2 years have not been fun. We actually have him down. He's down between a 3 and a 4. We've worked on breathing techniques and how to sit in his car and breathe for a while, or do some meditation before he comes in and shares his day with us, because that's not fair to any of us either. But anyway, so, when you do it with students, you can focus, you could do it once a week. You could do it every day for a week. So when you have that student who comes in who might normally be at that 1 and they're like at a 4, that is a nice indicator to just, if you get a moment with them, hey, just checking in. Is everything okay? Is everything good? It's obvious, and that they felt comfortable enough to share it. They may or may not answer you, but the fact that you noticed they made a different answer and you addressed it, that could just be what they needed to say, oh, I am in a safe space. This person does care about me. Other ways to get to know our students, a heart map is a really fun way, especially at the beginning. How do we get to know each other? So students have time to create it. They could be in Google Slides, Canva, Canvas. But being back in the classroom, give them a piece of paper and some markers and let them have some hands-on time to just relax and be off of the screen. So when I did this, when we were hybrid and virtual, students could discuss it in breakout rooms, record on Vocal, Flipgrid, Extempore. So either, having presentational or some interpersonal. So the heart map would be to have them start to focus on what makes them happy or what makes them special. And I model it for them. And in my slides that I give you these examples. So definitely feel free, copy and use. Use a picture or short expression to talk about what makes you happy. Okay, I use happy. Being stressed does not make me special. And that vocabulary that they need to discuss it. Lower levels might just have that list. If you're a novice, we'll give them those sentence starters. As we're getting between novice and intermediate, parce que, car, why? Explain that why. Why do you adore this? And then our upper level students, again, with that expansion, what are some more sophisticated expressions to use? Because my intermediates, I'm so tired of reading and listening to j'aime, j'adore, je préfère. That's a novice skill to me. Je suis passionnante de. Le voyage me rend heureuse. Give them those sophisticated expressions instead of je suis heureuse quand, je me sens heureuse quand. And helping them to develop their language. It's okay that you're giving them those guided sentences. That practice, that good use of it will help to cement it. Same with Spanish. I give you a little idea if you're not sure how to put the heart in there. I made my heart not be blue, not because I was sad, but because that is my favorite color, and I can discuss my favorite color also. Another twist to this is the personal collage. Can illustrate personal qualities, their strengths, assets, and values, what they like and don't like, what is important to them. Again, virtually, it could be done in Google Slides. I give the example, and I did a Bitmoji virtual locker. Some of my colleagues at school did decorate your water bottle and mask. When you're doing anything in the Google Slides, you can have your entire class in there. It can be shared with everybody, edited, so able to be edited by students, and that you can have them write comments back to each other on the slides, add a text box in. And me too, I didn't know this about you, appropriate ones, for each one, so their assignment is read through your classmates' slides and write back 5 positive comments to 5 different people. They can also discuss it. They're together. Here's my screen. Here's my piece of paper. Go back to the breakout rooms, record on Vocal, Flipgrid, Extempore. So many options for the creation and for the language that you want them to use. And they can write about it also. So I give them an example. I talk about that I love to read. I love to do yoga. Life doesn't happen without coffee. When I was little, I was a ballet dancer, which is really funny because I'm the biggest klutz in the world. I bump into everything. I talk about my family. I have to update my locker because now I have a quarantine dog. So we have two, you know, and things that are special to me. I'm fortunate as a teacher that I have the same students from year to year. I'm the only French teacher at my high school, and there's two others across town. But what is fortunate for me is I get all of my students every year. So I'm fortunate that I get to really establish those bonds. I share a lot about myself, whether they want to know or not. But my upper level students laugh because they're like, you would never wear a beret, madame, because you think that's a stereotype. Yes. And they laugh about the dress. They're like, yeah, that is your dress, madame. I have 3 versions of that, you know, long sleeve, short sleeve, right above the knee, right below the knee, same color, that eggplanty color. I have 2 versions in navy blue. I try to wear at least one of each every week once the weather gets cooler, with my boots. And that way I only have to, you know, then we have a spirit day on Friday. So I really only have to think about what to wear to school 2 days out of the week. So the kids laugh because they're like, that is your dress. I had to use it. When we were home, I would have students whose screen, you know, my screen looked like this. I did not see my students. It was not required by my district that they had their screens on. I completely get it that, you know, some of my students live in situations they do not want others to see. I get it. Some of my students had to work at tables with siblings and neighbors' kids because some parents were working all the time. Who was home with these kids? Some siblings were sharing computers until my district finally got computers to everybody. So it was a very challenging situation. And then when we were back in school, we still had some kids who were hybrid. So I would say, listen, occasionally we're going to do this. I would really love to see your face for like 2 minutes out of our block because I haven't seen you, especially my 9th graders. I didn't know any of them. So if they were not physically in school, I did not know what they looked like. And when you're in the Google world, they also have the raise your hand feature in your Meet. So, you know, I would even tell students, you know, let it show your ceiling if you can, but, you know, aim the camera to your ceiling just to know that they're physically there and engaged. So I would bring up different topics. Sometimes I would have it written out. Sometimes it would be me speaking. Sometimes I'd have a picture, you know, turn on your screens if you like fries. Who doesn't? You know, there's very few, but then you can get into well, who likes ketchup on their fries? Who likes mustard? Who likes mayonnaise, vinegar? Very interesting cultural discussions. Do you prefer to eat in the school cafeteria? Excuse me, 1 second. Oh my goodness. I thought I had to sneeze. And I usually pair that question up with some of those fabulous school lunches around the world slides, and then we cry. If you prefer chocolate, and then that leads into the wonderful debate. Well, first the discussion, white milk or dark chocolate, and then the debate is white chocolate, even chocolate. With your upper levels, talk about it in French, you know, your target language. If you have one dog, if you have an exotic animal, and I've thrown that one in there. I knew one of my students who was home had a parrot. Student never put the camera on. So I put that on one day. And that was due to, you know, the heart map and the lockers. You know, I knew that the student had a parrot. That's an exotic animal. So camera didn't go on. I said, hey, so-and-so, you know, your camera's not on. I raised my hand. You did. That was awesome. But wouldn't you like everyone to see your exotic animal? Okay. So yes, did we see that student? No, but we saw the parrot, and the parrot is beautiful. Another variation is the préfères-tu, do you prefer? Would you rather? Now that we're back in the classroom, I play it as like a 2 corners game and have students elaborate there. You know, préfères-tu être un chat ou un chien? And kids are like, you know, especially the lower levels, or if they're not reading carefully, oh, I love cats, I love dogs. And I'm like, no, it's not, do you have one? We're not talking about possession. Would you like to be one? And then they're like, oh, and you'll see people switching like, oh, I'd love to be a cat because they sleep all the time, or they don't have to be social, or I want to be a dog because I am social, or I'm really not social, but I'd like to be more social. So depending on, you know, Novice, your level ones, you're giving them some vocabulary to help them out, maybe a quick little talk as a group. Your upper levels, they can explain it in the target language, quick chat, they're up, they're moving around. We have to be physically in the presence of somebody and speak to them through a mask. So now we have to make ourselves be heard. Would you prefer to see the future or change the past? And again, with my level ones, I do keep it in the target language. I use a lot of gestures. I use a lot of cognates. The only thing I have to give with voir, regarder. And all right, would they be able to discuss this in the target language? Maybe, maybe not. However, upper levels, yes. But they're getting those reading skills in. And, remember, we want to be 90% in that target language, not 100%. So be discretionary. And if they just need to talk, if you notice the energy's high, let them get some of that energy out. That is a very discretionary reason. Use 1 or 2% of your 10% for that purpose. Okay. Another one that I took, and I do realize we're on like that 10-minute countdown, so we are coming toward the end. One of my favorites, I did learn about this at another workshop. I have taken it, twisted it, made it my own. Commentary on a photo. So this started off in the Jamboard as a writing task. And again, as I showed you earlier in the Jamboards, you can have a sticky note. There's specific colors for the sticky note. So we have the I see, I wonder if, we're getting ready to kind of asking a question. I think that, and ask a question. Level ones, I might give some vocabulary to, maybe 1 or 2 words to help them form a sentence. But depending on where you are in your year, they might be able to say, je vois 3 personnes. I see 3 people. That's a sentence. Yay. That's a complete sentence in my book. Upper levels, they need to use that. I like to use, so my upper levels also, they do not get to use the I see, because that's a list. That's a novice skill. I don't want them doing that. My 4s, they don't even get an opinion statement anymore. They've been doing their opinions for so long. I want a question. Give me a question now. Create your question. But what I really have come to love with this photo commentary is that I can start to introduce challenging topics that I myself am learning how to discuss in my classroom. So the purpose of these were my levels, were they 3s or 2s? They might have been 3s. Yes, they were 3s last year, or they might have been 2s from the year before. I don't remember where I got this from, but anyway, the point isn't that it's 100% correct. Okay. Remember, in our rubrics for novice and intermediate, we as that reader, can we figure out their message? Okay. And so I tell my students that if I look at it and I don't have to stop and go over the little parts in my brain, then yeah, I'm able to understand your message. We will work on that accuracy at another point, but that's not the purpose of this lesson. This is just getting them writing, trying to make a connective sentence. So, I see a woman in a white shirt, if they're in the same family, and we talk about them. And I always add something in also just to give, so mine was, I wonder if the woman sat, okay? And then I will share where I got that from. This was a professor at visiting the Maison des Esclaves off the coast of Senegal. So we talk about where is Senegal. It obviously was part of that time, the boats were arriving and transporting human beings at that time. And then I like to ask those questions. Did you mention that, has this been talked about in your history classes? Did you ever hear of this before? Why don't you go talk to your teachers? Why is this not brought up? But, and it gives them ways to go and do more research if it is a topic that they would like to research some more. So msncom, Time, Nat Geo, great photos, really interesting ones that you can take. They might relate to something. It might just be something you want to bring up. It might be something in the news. But there are more student appropriate ones, but you definitely want to go through. One of my favorite ways to touch base and for my calendar talks is the Action for Happiness website, actionforhappiness.org. All of the resources are free. Every month they publish a calendar themed of activities that you can do to work on that theme. So Optimistic October. The great thing is they put them in other languages and they're free. So for my upper levels, we don't have the true calendar talk at the beginning, but here's a calendar. It's set up, Monday's your first day, the weekend's together. Thank you so much, Edith, for putting that link in there. And we could say, oh, what would you do to be optimistic? Does that fit in with any of the days instead of the, what date is it? They're beyond that, but very easy to be used. Many languages, have it. So usually a day or two before the first of the month, the English one comes out. The translated ones might always take another day or two, and just copy it and paste it. And it's a great link. For any teachers that are using Seesaw with their students, Seesaw has paired up with Mind Yeti. I'll put that in the chat very quick. So the Mind Yeti videos are in English and Spanish. You can find them right on YouTube. But what Seesaw has done, they have taken those videos from Mind Yeti, and with Mind Yeti created tasks for the students to do. So they're already in the Seesaw library. You can just assign them to your students. So they are in English and Spanish. So Spanish teachers, there you go. What a great thing to do, maybe if you are out one day and as part of your sub plans. Let them take some time. No, unfortunately, Edith, the Seesaw and the Mind Yeti are not in French. There are other resources for French that I will link in there. But also, you could take the Mind Yeti videos. They're all under, they're like 3 to 4 minutes. Put in your own soundtrack, very quick. Have your upper level students create a soundtrack for the Mind Yeti videos that your lower level students can use too. I like to make my upper students work really, really hard. So do we have any questions? Anything that people are wondering about? We have a couple minutes, so as I said, I'm going to say merci. Don't get off yet. I did say I would share the links to my slides with you. I'm just bringing that up. If you'll give me one moment. Now I have to find which slide did I, oh my goodness. Why are they not in my notes? Uh-oh. Okay, so we're going to go to plan B. Anyway, let me put up my information slide very briefly. And I'm going to get that link. So there is all of my information if you need it. You also see the session evaluation there, but don't hang on. I will not let you leave without the links to those slides. My apologies that I don't know where my link went. So I'm just opening my drive right now. So I really thank you so much to Pennsylvania State Modern Language Association for letting me share today. I hope everybody found something that inspired them for next week, something that you want to try out. And, at any time, it might just be something you want to do for yourself or use with your students. If you come across any great resources, I'm always open for new ideas also. So definitely reach out to me by email, jennyzenyoga.com. And there it is. Of course, the computer's slow. Don't go anywhere. As I said, I am coming up with this. But again, thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure being here with you today.
On behalf of PSMLA, we want to thank everyone for attending the session with Jennifer. We welcome and encourage your feedback on our sessions. Please use the link in the PDF program or found in the chat to give the session feedback. The recording of the session will be available to conference registrants after the event and until February 28th of 2022. As a reminder for teachers in Pennsylvania, in order to qualify the session for Act 48 credit, you must complete the Act 48 reflection form. You can find the Act 48 form linked in the PDF program or also in the chat. These forms should be completed within 72 hours of this session. Thank you and enjoy the rest of our virtual conference. And again, thank you again, Jennifer.
Thank you so much. If you can hang on a minute, I am putting the link up right now. There it is. It is now in the chat. So again, thank you so much, and reach out if there was something else that you need or if you have any questions, and have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. See you.
Bye.